former chairman of the Boulder County Republicans, former chairman of the Colorado State Republican Party, former congressman for the 7th. Man, you can't hold down a job to save your life. Bob Beauprez, good to see you again.
Thank you, John. It's nice to be with you.
Hey, I appreciate you spending some time. The obligatory, so are you enjoying this? Because campaigning is tough, and I think any politician who says it isn't is fibbing.
No, it is tough. There's no doubt about it. It messes with your sleep habits and all your other habits. But I'll tell you, when it started getting real fun for me, recently we've been on a tour around the state. And that's the part of campaigning I really enjoy, being all over this enormously diverse state, seeing real people and talking to them about what's on their mind and the problems they face and how you might be able to help a little bit. That part of campaigning I enjoy a lot, John. So it suddenly got fun again.
How goes the money? Let's be honest. That's what it's all about. How you doing on that?
Well, better than most, maybe better than all, but certainly it's a challenge in Colorado. Our campaign finance limits are very limiting, and I think you raise an interesting point that I hope at some point the people of Colorado will consider. When we've got these low limits, instead of really keeping the money out of politics, what they force politicians to do, candidates to do, is focus almost all their time on raising money in small little increments. Now, some may think that's exactly the way they want it, but you don't really get to spend much time talking to people, not as much as you'd like, and doing the nuts and bolts of how do we really fix the problems in the state, because you really are just groveling for money continually in these relatively small amounts.
And again, I keep warning people when those attack ads come and they come from third parties, that the candidates have nothing to do with it. They can't have anything to do with it, and something that, you know, once campaign limits came in, amazing how ugly campaigns got, and it was supposed to do just the opposite.
You're absolutely correct.
Right, let me ask you a couple of the usual questions. I want to make sure that all four of you get asked the same thing. What would it take for you to step out and throw your support to one of the other three guys? What is there something that could happen? What would trigger that? What would I have to do?
Well, at this point, probably you'd have to find me face down in an alley sometime, which I hope doesn't happen. I suppose we're all in this to win it, and I intend to see that through. I like where I'm positioned right now. The reaction's been very positive, so we feel good about our chances. I just as soon it not be a primary. I just as soon it not be so crowded, but it is what it is.
If you couldn't vote for you in the primary, or you were found face down in the alley, who would you want that vote to go to in this primary?
I've got good respect for all three of my opponents, and I mean that very sincerely, because I've supported them in the past. They've supported me, and that's the strange thing about primaries. Again, I'm hoping that I'm the nominee, but I will pledge this to you and to your viewers that if I'm not the nominee, whoever they choose as their nominee, as our Republican nominee, I'll be there to support them, because I think Jon Hickenlooper needs to be beaten. And I certainly want a Republican governor to beat him.
Show me the path to victory, because this is a tricky thing when you have a primary. The Democrats manage to do this without a primary almost every time. A pro-life Catholic Democrat, Bill Ritter, no primary. Hickenlooper, no primary. Republicans, we like to eat our own. So you've got to navigate through a primary, win that, and then go to the middle and convince enough people in the middle to support you. How do you make that happen? What is the path to victory?
John, it's very similar, almost eerily similar to what I went through in 2002. You'll remember I was the 7th candidate to get into an already crowded field, didn't get in until March in a brand new congressional race in a district that was drawn to be very competitive, but in truth performed very Democrat, and they knew that. And so what I did then, and what I think the challenge is right now, to run a general election campaign right out of the chute. I'm running against Jon Hickenlooper, not my three Republican opponents, and I'm going to make my case to the voters that I'm the one who's the most experienced, the most qualified, the most capable to make that case against Jon Hickenlooper, and actually has a plan to govern the state in a better way than Jon Hickenlooper has once he is elected. I think that will be successful. I guess we don't have to wait so very long to find out. But I'm making my case to that broad audience right now. And I think my sense, John, is that Republicans, for all of our infighting in the past, and we've done a pretty good job of that, I think Republicans this year see it as a year of opportunity, and they know that among all the other reasons they want to satisfy in selecting a candidate, winning is probably their highest priority. So they're going to be picking the one of us that they think has the best chance of winning.
All four candidates in the polls have a real lack in one demographic: women. Mm-hmm. You know, that unaffiliated women skew more Democrat than Republican. That has to change. What's different in the Beauprez camp that speaks more to women, that gets you through the primary and into the governor's office?
Women I talk to are about opportunity as well, and they understand that the Obama-Looper economy has left them and their family behind. They're the ones that are opening those envelopes and seeing that, oh, I can't keep my insurance plan after all. Oh, instead of my premium going down, it went up. Oh, my son or daughter who just got out of college with a big debt to pay off can't get a job in their chosen profession. They're the ones that are seeing their health care premiums go up, their food costs are going up, gasoline has doubled since these guys took over. All of their expenses are going up, but their opportunities are going down. Those are the big issues that are concerning women right now. And I'm going to talk about economic opportunity. I'm going to talk about the fact that public safety is a very big issue. And I'm going to talk about that for all the talk about it being for the children, everything's always for the children, especially education. We don't move the needle very much. We've still got the brand new numbers out just in recent days show that still about 30%, in fact, it ticked up a little this year, of our third graders in Colorado aren't reading at grade level proficiency. I think all those children that can't read at grade level proficiency have mothers. I'm going to be talking to those mothers about how enough is enough, and we've got to fix that problem once and for all.
What differentiates you from the other three guys running for the Republican office? You've got Tom, who says, I am not the normal Republican. I supported legalizing pot, which passed. I'm a different type of Republican, although he's identified with immigration. Scott Gessler, who could say, hey, I'm the only guy who won a statewide office, and there'd be some truth to that. You've got Mike, who says, you know, I've been in leadership. I know how that state government works. What is it that differentiates you from those other three?
I've had some public sector experience, certainly served in Congress for 4 years, and I know a lot of people think of Bob Beauprez as a politician. The reality is that I've spent virtually all my life, the other 62 years of my life, in the private sector doing a variety of things. As you know, I grew up on a family dairy farm, and we grew that and exported cattle all over the world, ran a community bank, did some development. Now we're back on the land running a buffalo ranch. I've been in business and creating jobs virtually all my life and managing businesses. And I think that's what sets me apart for this job, because governor isn't just another policy position. You certainly have to have that experience and those kind of ideas and be able to drive policy, but you've got to manage the affairs of the state. You have to be that chief executive. And I'd like to think that my experience will serve me well, not only in managing the complexities of a governor's office, but understanding how diverse this whole state is. You know, I've had a foot in both the urban sector, the business part, as well as representing an urban congressional district. But I've still got the other foot firmly planted in Colorado's rural roots, and I'm proud of that.
What happened last time? You know, both you and Tom had a shot at this position before. Both of you, you talk about the nasty primaries and some of the ugliest I've ever seen in my time following politics in Colorado. But you won that nomination. What happened? What's different this time around?
I made a big, serious mistake in '06, and I'll freely admit it. I thought I could serve as a full-time member of Congress and do that very well, and come home on weekends and campaign for the most important statewide office we have in Colorado, that being governor. That proved to be a huge mistake. Plus '06, as you'll remember, wasn't the greatest environment for somebody with an R behind their name either, not since Watergate. The analysts said, have we seen an environment that tough? So it was a problem year. What's different this year? We've got the wind a little bit at our back, so maybe not real firm, but at least a bit advantageous for us conservatives. But we've got Jon Hickenlooper with a record that I think we need to expose. I think it's a record of failed leadership, of lost opportunity for the state of Colorado. We are not growing like we should be. Are we as bad as it could be? Probably not as bad as we could be, but we've fallen, John, and I think this is an important point to make. Art Laffer and Steve Moore, two pretty notable economists, rank all the states year after year in economic opportunity. In 4 years of John Hickenlooper, we've gone from number 2 in the nation to number 22 in the nation. And that's a trend that I intend to call him on, ask him to explain exactly why, with that kind of a trend established, he thinks he needs 4 more years to keep that trend going. I don't think he does. I think Colorado's better than this. We deserve better than this, and I want to see us be great again.
What is the one thing? I mean, if you had to say, listen, I'm going to become governor, and the one thing that's going to make the difference, the thing I'm going to change and I'm going to work on, what is that one thing?
John, it's getting government's boot off the throat of Coloradans everywhere. Talk to a teacher, and they feel that they're over-regulated, over-controlled in their classroom. Teachers ought to be able to teach, for heaven's sakes. Talk to a trucker. Talk to a farmer or rancher. Talk to a CEO of one of the big companies here in the Metro Denver area, as I have done, and every one of them. What's your biggest problem? Government interference, government delay, cost of government compliance. Get government out of my life, for heaven's sakes. We're not even trusted to buy our own light bulbs or figure out what toilet we can put in our own house anymore, much less our health care, how to educate our kids, on and on. That isn't a free society. That's a government-controlled society. And I think Coloradans are saying enough already. So day one, I'm going to freeze non-essential regulations. Just say, let's stop. And we'll go through every agency, every regulation, and what isn't pro-opportunity, pro-individual freedom, pro-liberty, I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to privatize it. We'll end it, and we'll give government back to the people. Government of, by, and for the people. What a concept. Worked for a long time. I think it can again.
It's interesting that politics changes so quickly. And it was a year ago we looked at this and said, you know, Hickenlooper went from the most popular governor in the country to perhaps one of the most vulnerable without a major political scandal. It was his own doing that really brought him down. Mark Udall, man, nobody's going to touch him. And now we see that there is a very competitive United States Senate seat, and Hick has a comfortable but not insurmountable lead over all 4 of you guys. What gives there? What do you think is the issue that's going to bring Hick the vulnerability he's going to need for you to win?
Failed leadership, John. Whether it's the Nathan Dunlop non-decision, I think that really demonstrated a lot of Coloradans a weakness, an inherent weakness to make the tough call. He ran initially, and a lot of people believed him when he said, "Oh, I'm a pro-business, moderate, party doesn't really matter to me," kind of a guy, and would govern that way. And then he oversaw what everybody defined as the most anti-business legislative session in Colorado history, and he vetoed a grand total of 0 bills, not a one. So where's this pro-business guy with that kind of a record? We're going to call him on that record, and I think you know, the day I announced, I had a journalist ask me, "What would you do different than John Hickenlooper?" And I just shot back, "Show up." Because I think one of the challenges is to define, what is John Hickenlooper all about? We don't know.
People want to get involved in what you're doing. Where do they go?
BobBeauprez.com. Imagine how we came up with that.
Go figure that one.
BobBeauprez.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Next week, Scott Gessler, Mike Kopp, join me for that. Tell a friend, and we'll see you in a week.